All right, welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about the main event of the evening: Jan Blachowicz fighting Magomed Ankalaev for the vacant undisputed title, the light heavyweight title. Now that Yuri Prochazka has been forced to abandon it, Ankalaev is the big favorite here. He's the guy that's been, we've been waiting for him to get the big fight, and this was the big fight. It just wasn't for a title up until a few weeks ago, but. I'm happy to see him here because he is the guy that I think if you were to ask every diehard UFC fan who's the best light heavyweight in the world, he's not going to get everybody's vote, but he's going to win the vote overall. He's going to, win the election, whatever the hell. But anyway, Ankalaev is 17-1, stands 6'3", and he's 30 years old. He's fighting Jan Blachowicz, who's 29-9, 6'2", and 39 years old. Jan is the seasoned veteran. He's the guy who, theoretically should be on his way out, but it doesn't seem to be the case. He's in his fighting prime right now. And, this should be an awesome fight. I'm hoping for Jan Blachowicz to win, just to be blunt. I want Jan Blachowicz to win just about every fight, aside from when he fought Glover Teixeira. I like Jan's personality, and I like his fighting style, too. It's one of those things that takes a while to appreciate, but he's a damn good fighter. I think he won over a lot of fans when he took out Israel Adesanya. I thought Izzy was going to school him, comfortably win a decision. But Jan, with his size and strength and, his obvious power, but with his counter-striking, was just too much for Israel. And Jan, we've seen that. His striking has really come into its own. I feel like he's always been a good striker, but he's developed here, especially his hands and his counter-striking, and he's one of the, best strikers in the division. We've seen him work that countering on Dominic Reyes. We've seen him, work over Israel Adesanya. Again, that was one of his best performances. We've seen him knock Luke Rockhold out. We've seen him knock Corey Anderson out, a win that's gotten better with age, despite Corey losing a few weeks ago. But Jan Blachowicz, he's one of those guys who's not the most athletic, not the fastest by any means, and he doesn't move around so much. He's a little more slow in plotting, but having him keep his feet planted on the ground is what gives him his power in those moments in which he counter strikes. He does have that Polish power. It is a real thing, and I'm hoping it works for him here against Ankalaev. Ankalaev, though, is a tough test. Ankalaev, he looks like an awesome fighter everywhere. Not so much in the submission realm, but on the ground, he's still a very good fighter overall. His record is 17-1. He's got 9 KOs, 0 submissions, and 8 decisions. And his one loss came to Paul Craig in a fight that has haunted him ever since. I don't even need to hear him say it. I know it's haunted him because Ankalaev did not need to tap there. And I'm not saying he's a quitter or whatever. In fact, I think that's haunted him. I think he'll never tap in a situation like that again. But that's his only defeat that we can look to. He was defeated as an amateur, and it was from the guard as well with an armbar. But that was just, a decade ago, and he was, or close to it, and he was not the same fighter that he is now. Now he just looks like a fucking beast, a wrestle striker that's going to be a problem for anybody in the world. Anybody. There's not one person I'd pick to beat him, to be honest, including Paul Craig. I say that like you would be picking Paul Craig. No, Ankalaev has distinct advantages over everybody. And in this one, I think he's got distinct advantages over Jan. Jan, you have to look to the Rakic fight, which they were 1-1. I thought Jan won round 1 and then was taken down and controlled for almost the full 5 minutes of round 2 before winning via injury early in round 3. But Ankalaev can definitely duplicate that performance. We've seen guys get Jan down, Glover Teixeira, Alexander Rakic, and even some of his earlier losses. Patrick Cummins, of course. Alexander Gustafsson pretty much turned into a wrestler that night, facing the Polish power. But these are, not all of them are wrestlers. Cummins is really the wrestler here. But these guys were all able to out-wrestle Jan Blachowicz. And Ankalaev definitely has it in him to take Jan Blachowicz down. And on the feet at range, Jan's going to have to find those counter strikes, and he's going to have to time Ankalaev's entries. But, Generally speaking, who wins the point battle on the feet? Ankalaev wins that as well. Ankalaev is a very good striker. We've seen him have some vulnerable moments, especially against Thiago Santos, charging at him, and having some nice flurries, and making Ankalaev look a little whatever vulnerable on the feet there. But generally speaking, with his movement, his power, which, it's not nothing. I don't think he's got Jan Blachowicz's power, but he definitely has power from range that could knock Jan out. Jan, again, he's been knocked out twice. But Ankalaev, I do think overall would win a decision here. That's my prediction for the fight. I think he outpoints Jan Blachowicz. He's got the wrestling in his back pocket if the striking isn't going his way. And Jan Blachowicz, I think he's got to knock Ankalaev out. I'd have a hard time seeing him win a decision. It would have to be a very similar to the Adesanya fight for him to win a decision. And even with or without the takedowns, I have a hard time seeing Jan Blachowicz getting on top of Ankalaev. But I'm saying the striking would have to look the way it looked against Israel Adesanya. Ankalaev, I do trust his toughness, even though we haven't seen him lose. You got to see a fighter lose a few times before you can say he's that tough or not. But there's no reason to doubt his toughness here. And there's no reason to suggest that Jan Blachowicz is going to submit Ankalaev. Again, those two losses came on the ground of, in the guard. The amateur loss and the Paul Craig loss. So, if that is Ankalaev's weakness, which I'm sure it still is his weakest area, but he's been tightening it up, and I don't see Jan Blachowicz being able to follow that blueprint. Ankalaev should win this fight. He should win every fight probably, until we start to see more vulnerabilities. So I'm taking Ankalaev. I like him to win by decision at plus 200. That is my primary bet. But I'm just the kind of degenerate who would bet on Jan Blachowicz as well. Because Jan, he's one of those guys who is underrated, certainly overlooked. Maybe not anymore, of course, since he's been at the championship level, but I still think he's a little underrated overall. His losses don't look great. Certainly that Glover Teixeira loss didn't look great. But again, overall, everything considered, I'm taking Ankalaev to win. So we'll see what happens. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.